Just by being here tonight, you're already doing something powerful for yourself. This is a demonstration to your own system that you matter, that you're choosing you. As you guys know, my name is Greg, and tonight's class is called Breaking the Scapegoat Spell. Here's what we're going to cover tonight, okay? We'll explore what the scapegoat role really is, how narcissistic family systems are set up, what living in this kind of system does to your nervous system, super important, and your sense of self. The basics of healing and why nervous system regulation is so incredibly essential. And this is really important, guys. And how breaking the scapegoat spell is actually the start of your awakening. It's the beginning of discovering the authentic you. The scapegoat is often the most spiritually awake person in the family system. And how this journey can shift you. It can shift you out of survival mode and into creator mode, allowing you to build a life that suits you. And after that, we'll open up for some questions and comments. And if anyone's interested at the end, the very end, if you want to stay a few extra minutes, I'll close this with a short meditation to help release the old energetic cords, especially those cords tied to family trauma. It's nothing, excuse me, it's nothing too heavy, just a gentle grounding way to end the class. So now that we've got over the plan, let's take one more breath. Inhale through the nose. Exhale through the mouth. Guys, you made it here. You're here. Congratulations. Why don't you put in the chat, I'm ready, and let's get started, okay? So one of the things, if you watch my content, if you go on my lives, right, and there's another thing I'm going to say a lot tonight is you were never the problem. Okay, that's really important. You were never the problem. If you're here tonight, there's a good chance you've been through a lot, right? And maybe, just maybe, like me, you spent most of your life feeling like something was off, like you were the problem, feeling misunderstood, like an outsider when you were surrounded by your own family, and for that matter, even friends, right? But again, what if I told you you were never the problem? What if I told you you were the scapegoat? And what if being the scapegoat in a dysfunctional family wasn't a flaw? It wasn't a curse, but a gift. Perhaps even a spiritual assignment. A reflection of just how powerful and beautiful, how empathetic and incredibly sensitive you truly are. Guys, I don't believe anyone ended up in this class by accident. And if you're here tonight, I truly believe something in you was ready. Even if it doesn't feel that way yet. That's what we're here to talk about tonight. So again, this class is called Breaking the Scapegoat Spell, because that's exactly what this programming can feel like, right? It feels like a spell, like a fog. Like you're living a story about you, but it wasn't written by you, right? So tonight I want to help you to begin writing a new one, a story where you are the author and the main character, not your family, not the society we grew up in. So throughout this class, I'm going to invite you to keep checking in with your body. You don't have to push through anything. Just notice, breathe, stay with yourself. And let me be clear about a couple things. This isn't therapy. It's not about blaming anyone. That's not what I do. It's about waking up. We're going to walk through the patterns of narcissistic family systems, what it feels like to grow up in them, and how being cast as a scapegoat, while incredibly painful, can also become the key to your healing, your awakening, and repairing your nervous system, your human GPS system, if you will, to navigate this earth life experience that we're all having, to reclaiming your voice, your truth, and your life, to discover the authentic you that's been buried under countless layers of survival programming. And if you find yourself feeling emotional or spaced out or even a little anxious as we move through this, it's totally okay. That's actually a good thing. It's your body processing things. Guys, just remember, you're safe here. You don't have to believe everything I say tonight. Just notice what lands. Notice what makes your body feel safe. What makes you feel seen and validated. And if something resonates, be sure to drop a yes in the comments, in the chat, okay? Because that's your nervous system saying this matters. So reinforce it, make it stick. You guys ready? Okay. Let's talk about the system itself. Most people think think of families as loving and supportive, maybe a little messy, maybe a little bit crazy or weird, right? But overall safe. They're supposed to be your family. But in narcissistic family systems, everything is upside down. Love is conditional, right? Truth is quite dangerous. And image and optics is absolutely everything. These systems, your parents are supposed to be the ones who are helping you emotionally regulate as a child. This is what I mean by upside down, right? They're supposed to be helping you learn how to have a human experience and regulate your emotions and learn to work with your emotions. In these systems, it's quite the opposite. You, as the child, are actually the emotional regulator of the adult. You're taking on responsibility for regulating your parents in these systems. This is a responsibility that you cannot accomplish. You're going to fail at this no matter what. It sets you up for failure. And you got to understand that every person in this family, they get cast into a role. And it's not based on who they really are, right? It's based on what the narcissist parent needs. What the narcissistic parent needs you to be. So a couple of the really basic roles, right? There's usually a golden child, the one who's idealized, right? The one that can do no wrong. This is the poster child of the family, who will often receive special treatment, appear to be loved. That's an act, guys. It's an act. There's often an enabler, the one who protects the abuser, keeps the peace, looks the other way. And that could be a survival mechanism, or they can be highly toxic and narcissistic as well. This is often the other parent or a caregiver in the system. And then there's a scapegoat, the one who gets blamed for everything that's wrong in the system. Not because they're bad, but because they can't help but see the truth. You see everything. And it's because they don't take to the programming. They either consciously or more often subconsciously are bucking the system. The program's not sticking. These children, like myself, and I'm sure many of you here tonight, are highly sensitive, right? Many of us are neurodivergent as well. What came first, the chicken or the egg, is up for debate. You see, the scapegoats in these systems are the ones asking the questions, right? They're the ones calling things out. Scapegoats don't play the game, do we? And you got to remember, everything in these systems is about illusion, right? It's about control. It's about power. It's about silence, guys. So you as a scapegoat, you're considered really dangerous to these systems. A system built on illusion and optics, right? You become the threat to the system. So they blame you. They're going to shame you. Oh boy. And they're going to punish you. And what happens over time is you start to believe it. You become conditioned, right? Or as I like to call it, programmed. It's programming. It's survival programming. You have no choice but to take on this programming as a child. It's the only thing only thing you know. You're being programmed that you're too sensitive, that you're the difficult one, that it's all your fault. And this is where it gets even messier, right? This is where the cycle begins. And it does, it gets messy. You start reacting to the abusive system. You start acting out, right? Your nervous system can't take it anymore. So you start having problems in other areas of your life. You become dysregulated. And this just compounds the way the system treats you, right? It's a vicious cycle. You act dysregulated. It's like we talk about it all the time with reactive abuse, right? The system's abusing you. It's dysfunctional. You react to the system in what would be considered a normal way in these dysfunctional systems. And then the finger gets even more pointed at you. It's a vicious cycle, guys. And it's not your fault. It's the system's fault. You start to develop these thoughts and beliefs that if you could just be better, right? Maybe they would finally love you or at least accept you or at the bare minimum, not hate you, right? Like just not be hated. But guys, the truth is you were never the problem. Remember? You were just unwilling to betray yourself to stay in the system and to behave in the system, right? Let's take a breath. Let that land. If that feels familiar to you, throw a Greg line in the comment. I'm not the problem. Put I'm not the problem in the chat. Okay? Let's move on. Let's talk about the scapegoat. What does it feel like to actually grow up in the role of the scapegoat? It's not just about being blamed for everything, guys. It's about being misunderstood at the core of who you are. You actually start to live in a reality where like nothing feels solid, right? Like what's what? You know, one minute you're getting yelled at for speaking the truth, and the next they act like nothing happened. You set a boundary and choose yourself, and somehow you're being called mean or overly dramatic or hurtful. You become the villain in the story. That's gaslighting, guys, plain and simple. Okay? And over time, it makes you doubt the perception of your reality. It makes you doubt yourself. It's another very deep level of self-abandonment, part of your survival programming. You start walking on eggshells, right? I mean, that's like, we all walk on eggshells growing up in these systems. You scan every room. This one's a huge one. You over-explain everything to everyone just to feel safe, right? You can't relax. Your body is always on. You're always armored up. Guys, this is really important too. I want you to hear this. This is not personality flaws. This is not something that's fundamentally broken in you. That's a nervous system that's on high alert. When your environment is emotionally unsafe, your body adapts. It wires itself for survival. You've all heard it. Fight, flight, freeze, fawn, right? That becomes your operating system. Like literally. You stay in these states so much that you don't feel safe unless you're on high alert, right? You can't relax. You can't come out of it. You're always waiting for the other shoe to drop. Peaceful environments feel threatening to you. Relaxing feels threatening to you. This is another big point, especially personally with me, right? It's why so many scapegoats turn to substances. They turn to food, sex, right? And other dopamine producing or numbing behaviors. It's a desperate attempt to regulate their nervous systems, right? I was always trying to soothe myself with something. I can remember being a little kid, like 8 or 9 years old, and like rifling sugar down my mouth just because it gave me it changed my consciousness in some way, right? It gave me an out. It gave me dopamine. It gave me a little relief. And now, years later, you're still unconsciously running that program. It's still in there. You shut down. You over apologize, right? You're taking on the world's responsibilities. You carry the world on your back, on your shoulders. How many of you guys, like, my back and shoulders throughout my whole life I always had problems with them. That's my nervous system holding this stuff in. You people please, you abandon yourself, right? You find this one's a big one, right? We talk about this a lot when we go live. You find yourself drawn to toxic dynamics, right? Why am I keep repeating these cycles? Why do I keep ending up in these relationships that are really toxic with abusers, right? People taking advantage of me. It's like the story of my life, right? You relate? It's because deep down, part of you still believes that love has to hurt, that you believe you're not worthy of a healthy relationship, that your nervous system doesn't feel healthy in one. And you believe that you are the problem. You learn that you need to abandon yourself to be accepted, right? You have to put everyone else first. You have to emotionally regulate others before yourself. It's the program that we took on. Just like I was explaining earlier, we manage our parents' emotions. We're refereeing the house. This is the cost of growing up in a system that made you the problem. The system made you the problem. The narcissistic parent projected everything onto you, so they didn't have to carry it. But I need you to hear this, guys. None of this means you're broken. It means you adapted. It's what you had to do to survive. And now, by virtue of just being here tonight, you're waking up. You're starting to feel the dysfunction in the programming. You're starting to see maybe it was never about you. Maybe it was never about you being too much or not enough. Maybe you're just the one who was a threat. Maybe the real you, the authentic self, is finally asking to be seen. That's sacred, guys. So if you're resonating with any of this, drop "I survived" in the chat, because you did. You're here. Let's take another breath. Inhale through the nose. Exhale through the mouth. And say this quietly to yourself. I was never the problem. I was surviving. Let's move on. So here's where we start to flip the script, guys. Being the scapegoat isn't just a trauma pattern. It's a spiritual assignment. I know that sounds a little weird, maybe a little woo-woo to some of you, right? But stay with me. What if you were meant to see through the illusion? What if you had to be cast out of the system to finally wake up? Because in narcissistic family systems, everything is built around denial. It's all built around image and optics. It's built on the avoidance of truth. But you came in with something different. clarity, consciousness, a refusal to pretend. And when you wouldn't abandon your truth, they called you the problem. But if you look at this through a spiritual lens, this is your initiation. And it's just like in myths and stories, guys, the exile, the black sheep, the one who's cast out. That's always the beginning of the hero's journey, right? You were pushed out so you could find something real. So you could stop living a life built on someone else's lies and start building one rooted in your truth. And yeah, guys, it's going to hurt like hell at first. It's going to be excruciating at times. The betrayal, the grief, the loneliness. But there's a gift in that pain. It wakes you up. It cracks open your armor. It makes you question everything. It teaches you how to self-source. You stop chasing safety in these broken systems, and you start building it inside yourself. And that, guys, that's sacred. It's the key to you breaking out of the matrix. And that's why I feel so lonely sometimes. Because awakening often begins with exile. But it does not end there. So if this is resonating, if you've ever asked, why me? Maybe it's because you were never meant to fit in. Maybe it's because you were meant to wake up. And now that you are, you get to build something new. A new life. A life that's actually yours. A life that you actually love. So if you're resonating, drop a I'm awakening in the chat. Let's talk about going from survival to creation now. Take a sip of cacao. Excuse me. So here's where we shift, guys. We go from surviving system to creating systems, right? Because escaping the family system, it's just the beginning. And once you get out, there's this weird moment when you find yourself asking, like, now what, right? What's next? Because you're technically free, but you don't feel free. You're still carrying all the old programming. And some of it's really starting to fall away, right? You start to lose your sense of self. You don't know who you are. You start unlearning everything. You start to deprogram. Everything starts to fall away. You start to question your reality, right? You start to question what's real and what isn't. It's a very confusing process. The collapse in my awakening was, I wasn't expecting it. I had no idea. I had no idea that this was part of an awakening process. I didn't know what I was in. And I started losing everything. I lost every relationship except my children. And even my children were ripped away from me. I lost my career. I lost housing. I lost everything. Everything you can imagine. And looking back on it, I am so grateful for it. Because it was everything that didn't suit me. All that old programming, all that toxicity in my life was getting ripped away from me. And that process is entering the void, right? And that could be a very dysregulating place to be. That can be a very confusing place to be. It's where the old program self begins to shed. The parts of you that don't belong there, they start dying off. And you can understand things intellectually during this time, but the truth starts to settle into your system too. And that gets even more confusing because that's when your nervous system starts to scream at you, right? You're not safe. You made a mistake. You're seeing it wrong. Go back. And that's your ego, right? That's your ego, which is, be thankful for the ego, because your ego is trying to keep you safe. Its job is to keep you alive, not happy. And it hates change. It hates the unknown. It wants to stay in the familiar. It scans and goes, you're alive, you're safe, we belong here. Do not change. But when you go through this process, the old identity, it has to die. And when you're in the void, it's dying. And this is the beginning of making room for the new version of ourselves to emerge, right? And again, guys, this can be super confusing and incredibly scary. But it's also exactly where the real work begins. And the real work has to start with your nervous system. Because when your body has been trained to expect chaos, punishment, rejection, right? It's not just emotional, guys. It's, oh, hey, Kodo. It's physiological. You can't think your way into healing. You literally have to feel your way into safety. It begins with the nervous system. And that's why nervous system work is the foundation, right? It's the bridge between knowing and embodying. We have to teach our bodies that they're safe now. You can breathe. You don't have to armor up anymore. And unfortunately, that doesn't happen overnight. There's not a quick fix to this. It happens little by little, with breath, with movement, sound, water, stillness. And slowly, your body will start to believe it. And what's beautiful is when your nervous system starts to relax like that, you begin to reconnect with your authentic self. It feels safe enough to start to emerge if you allow it. The part of you that never belonged because it was never meant to. The part of you that's creative, right? Intuitive, emotional, fucking weird. The part of you that's spiritual. The part of you that's real. And here's a very powerful truth. When you start building a life that honors that part of you, that's not just healing. It's literally rebellion, because you're taking your power back from the old systems that taught you to betray yourself. But now you get to come home. You get to build relationships that don't require self-abandonment. You get to show up in your truth, out loud and seen. You get to create a life that actually feels good in your body and in your mind. Guys, it's not selfish. Even though you may have been taught that it is. It's sacred. Some of you, like myself, were probably thinking it's too late for me, right? I talk to so many people. It's too late. I'm middle-aged. I've wasted half my life. I certainly thought that way. I thought I wasted 50 years of my life. But I want you to hear this. It's never too late to become who you really are. If any of that lands, go ahead and write in the chat, it's the perfect time. Because your perfectly imperfect awakening, your perfectly imperfect awakening is uniquely unfolding for you. It's going to look different for every single one of us. And you really start to connect the dots. When you really start to wake up, you really start to connect the dots, how perfectly imperfect it all is. So at this point, we've come full circle. We've talked about the roles, the gaslighting. We've talked about the nervous system a little bit, the awakening. But the real question is, what do you do with all this now? How do you take this awareness and actually begin to living from your truth? And the honest answer is, guys, There's no one path. There's no magic pill. There's no perfect program. This is a process. It's a practice. It's a becoming. And it doesn't happen overnight. It happens through intention. This is scary. It happens through surrender. It happens through allowing your healing to unfold step by step, layer by layer. You can do this on your own. I found my way through this by listening, by slowing down, by tuning into my body, by letting my truth pull me forward. But I will say this from my own experience. You don't have to walk this path alone. When you're healing from a system that made you doubt yourself, having someone by your side, someone who sees you, who's been there, has been where you've been, can change everything for you. And it's not about fixing you. It's about creating a space where your healing can truly start to unfold, where your body feels safe enough to release what it's been holding for years, and for most of us, decades. That's what I do now. I walk with people like you, folks who have woken up, who know something has to shift, but not sure how to move forward without betraying themselves again. If what I've shared tonight has landed in your body, if something in you feels seen or safe or simply curious, I'd be honored to walk beside you. You can book a free call, no pressure. We'll talk about where you are, what's alive in you right now, and whether this work, this container might be a fit. And if not, that's okay too. Truly, guys, really. Just keep going. Stay with yourself because your healing's already happening. You're already on the path. And whether we work together or not, I want you to remember this. Your truth is not too much. Your healing is not selfish. You are not the scapegoat anymore. You are the seed of something sacred. Let that land in your nervous system. If you resonate, write "I choose to allow" in the chat and feel the truth move through your body. All right, guys. So I'm going to open up for questions and comments. Do you guys want to do a quick meditation before we close? So get in a comfortable position. You can turn off your camera if you like. Just get comfortable. Go ahead and close your eyes if that feels safe for you. Or you can soften your gaze and just settle into your body. Take a slow, steady breath through the nose and exhale gently through the mouth. When we breathe through the nose and exhale through the mouth, we always want the exhale to be a little bit longer than the inhale. It's another signal to the body that you're safe. Let's do that again. Inhale through the nose. Let everything relax on the exhale through the mouth. Let yourself be held just for this moment. Now bring to mind someone or something that you've been holding on to. Could be a story, could be a role, could be a belief that was never truly yours. You don't have to name it perfectly. Just feel it. Just sense it. Imagine that connection as a cord that's attached somewhere in your body. The cord may be thick or thin, maybe tight or subtle. It may be in your chest, your throat, your belly. Wherever it is, just notice it. Notice it without judgment, without rushing. Now, gently place your hand over that place in your body. And quietly say to yourself, or say in your mind, I no longer need this cord to stay connected. This is important. I can keep the wisdom and release the weight. Now breathe into that space. And with your next exhale, imagine that cord softening, loosening, gently dissolving. You're not cutting the cord in violence. You're simply unhooking the illusion. The illusion that you ever had to carry what wasn't yours. Just take another intentional breath again. In and out. Feel into that space that's beginning to open now. This is your space, your energy. It's your truth. Now speak these words quietly or inside. I call my power back. I return to myself. I'm safe to be seen. I'm safe to live out loud. Let's take one final breath together as a group. Inhale and then exhale. You can gently bring your awareness back to the room, back to your body, back to this moment. You're here, you're whole, and you're free to continue unfolding at your own pace and in your own way. Guys, it was a pleasure. Thank you for being a part of this tonight, and I'll see you soon. Heal out loud.